We're going to talk on the health segment today about bullying in schools. And we have someone who's very special and prepped to talk to us about this particular conversation. Now, Dr. Hilda Boy is a pediatrician and also the director for JH Health Connect. Good morning, Hilda.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, and
fantastic. Very well, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Just before we get into the whole conversation, just give us a sense of what the health system is like where you work in this season.
Okay.
You know, just generally.
It's generally a bit calmer. You know, during the holidays, a lot of people will rather travel to their hometowns and delay and only come in when necessary. So they'll wait till after the festivities before they come in hospital if it's not urgent.
Okay.
Yes, so it's been a bit calm.
Okay.
Interesting. Right, so let's zoom in into our conversation. You know, because of the holidays, parents are home, children are home, you know, and I think this is the right time and very ideal for us to be talking about bullying in schools. You know, you realize that a lot of children don't want to go to school. I mean, there are periods where they have issues going to school.
Crying,
they wake up in the morning and they feel like, I don't want to go to school. Probably because somebody in my class is doing this to me. Somebody in my class has said this to me. And this sometimes affect their whole confidence, you know, and the love that they have going to school. When we talk about bullying in school, what would you classify as bullying?
So generally, like bullying, there's aggressive behavior.
Okay.
So there's aggressive behavior usually by the person who is bullying or perpetrating the act of the bullying. There's also a usual like repetitive pattern. So it's not like just once or the incident doesn't occur once. It often repeats itself. So many more times it keeps recurring. There's also a component of power imbalance. So one person is like the weaker one and the other one, that the one being bullied is the weaker one sort of, and the one who is bullying is the one who is more powerful or has more influence in the school, maybe more established in the school. So that is like in a nutshell what bullying is about. There's aggressive behavior and definitely the person who is being bullied is not going to be happy about it or going to feel comfortable. So there's this discomfort that is caused by the one who is doing the bullying because of power imbalance and all that.
Right. Now, you know, sometimes, I mean, it's a bit normal to have maybe people or students in upper classes, you know, try to flex muscles and let juniors know that I am the senior. You know, I think those ones sometimes, you know, is not too aggressive, you know, but there are also those who, you know, there are certain children, even when you are their classmates, they try to
dominate you.
You know, it looks like it's coming from home, you know. Are people born as bullies? Do they develop certain traits from home and then bring it? What makes somebody become a bully?
It's a mix of the things that you've mentioned, and so maybe the background that the person has come from, there's violence in there. A lot of beating may be going on. And so when they get out of that environment, they tend to act the way that they are being acted on at home. So if it's the aggression, like parents shouting at them all the time, when they go to school, they do the same to other children. If they are beating them all the time, when they go to school, any little thing there, they will flex their muscles and show you that they are also powerful. So often when children are bullying other children, it is an indication that there may be trouble at home, that they are also probably being abused themselves at home in a way. There are also some who, so they are really like not like groomed, or they are not being parented. So they are just there, you know, they've been born and they are just growing. There's no supervision. There's no intentional
nurturing.
Nurturing or parenting. So bad behavior crops up and nothing is done about it. The children just go on and on and on, and so they bring that same character from home, or they export it into school, and they maltreat the other children that they are with. Neglect from the parents is also another thing that can cause their children to bully other children. So they are neglected, they fend for themselves in a way. So they develop a tough sort of attitude and they tend to maltreat others.
Is there you know, some certain things that you can see as predispositions for somebody becoming a bully?
Basically, the things that we have just talked about are some of the major things.
Okay.
And people who are being bullied can also end up becoming bullies, even though they don't like being bullied. They can
That's
also
what happens,
can
you know,
act it
from
out.
Yes.
junior classes to
once you
senior
go to
classes.
the-
You know,
yeah,
you go through it,
you
you're
get
also
it.
waiting to get to Form 3 to also show that, yeah, me too, I've arrived.
But some of it is not like really like the bullying.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Some of
yeah.
it is just subtle.
Just a
you know,
school fun and stuff like
school
that.
fun. They are trying to exert their authority in
Yeah.
a way because I'm in third year now.
Yes.
You are just in first year. But the kind where it can be verbal or non-verbal. So the verbal, they'll be teasing you. They'll be calling you names. They'll be just trying to make you feel low or make you feel down
Yeah.
all the time. And then there can be the physical, like where there's actually beating and all. And then the emotional bit too,
Yeah.
where they will, so maybe I won't play with you. That's me not playing with you. But when I try to tell other people not to play with you,
Yeah.
then that's like you want me to become isolated. You don't
Yeah.
want me to become happy. And that's like bullying. So it's a mix.
Yeah.
How do parents spot, signs of bullying happening in their children and not maybe attribute it to them just being moody or you are being a spoiled brat? Or how do you see that, look, this is something going on here that I need to investigate?
It's good for parents to ask their children, how was your day today? So when they come back home, you can find out from them how their day went. Was anybody mean to you? You can ask those simple questions to help to know if something is going on in the school that makes your child uncomfortable. That's a start. Now, there are some children probably performing very well academically, and then all of a sudden their grades start dropping. Or they don't want to go to school anymore. Their school refusal comes in. So a child who otherwise was happy to be going to school suddenly does not want to go to school. You may have a child who was dry at night, so would sleep and not wee or pee on the bed. Suddenly this child is peeing on the bed. And all these could be signs that there's something going on that is distressing the child. Again, you may have a child who has suddenly become withdrawn. So the child was previously bubbly, would play with everyone, would talk to you even, and you notice that the child is suddenly withdrawn. So these subtle signs are things that would prompt the parents to look into. I mean, sometimes it's something that's happening in the neighborhood, not in the school per se, because it can happen anywhere. It can happen in school, it can happen at home, at church, anywhere. So these are some of the things. Once you start noticing them as a parent, you need to ask more questions.
Now, let's look at the bullied.
Yes.
Because there are certain children, I don't know if it's also just the way we're talking about those who are bullying, maybe some behaviors they are picking. There are other children too that you realize that they can't defend themselves in any way. They are always coming back to you with complaints. They are always crying. They are coming to do. Sometimes you ask yourself, okay, so if your mate does this, you too talk back, do something.
Respond.
What causes this, and who is at risk of being bullied?
Okay, children who are different.
How
different? So too small, too short, too tall, too slim, too big.
Body shaming.
Body shaming. Children who have disabilities, so intellectual disabilities or any form of physical disability, they tend to be bullied. Or children who appear not too loud or maybe a bit more reserved, they also tend to be.
So, Dr. Hilda, when I was 11, 12, Form 1 in secondary school, this is the old system, so it's a 7-year block. I was also teased a lot because I was darker than most of the kids in the school. I think there were two of us who were like that. One was from Uganda and then I was from Ghana.
You were fairly representing,
and the teasing was ridiculous, to the point where every day of term 1 and term 2, I went home crying every single day.
That was bad.
But my parents didn't know what to do about it. You know, it's like, what, you know, so my dad was like, oh, secondary school, that's how it is. You have to be, you know, you have to be tough. Don't show them that you're weak, otherwise they'll keep doing it. You know, it was just what he could understand at that time, you know. But yeah, because when children who are different, you know, they would pick on you for that difference. Yeah. So that's just
And then for the children to one thing that can be done is you try not to let them sort of have a field day, or they shouldn't be happy to see that you are sad or you are not happy,
so
or whatever you're doing is bothering
families
them.
are watching, parents are watching, children are watching. I want you to tell the children straight to them how they should handle some of these things. Teasing, you know, is one thing that really puts children in a difficult position. Tell the children now how they should handle this.
If you are in a school or in a neighborhood or in a family, sometimes it even happens in the home, you know. So wherever you are, if you are being teased, it's important to let whoever is teasing you know that you are not happy about it, or you do not want them to tease you. That's one of the first things. Another thing is to report it to your parents or your teachers or your caregivers at the time when it is happening, so that they are aware that this is what is going on and you are not happy about it. There are other bits, you know, everybody is different, there are personality differences, and sometimes as you get to know other people, you know how best to handle them. There are some people that you may just sort of ignore or walk away from, but there are others that, because they are constantly there, there's nothing you can do about it. They are your classmates, they are everywhere, that you may not be able to ignore them. So in those cases, the reporting is really important. And for the caregivers or the parents and the teachers, this is not something that you ignore. When you see it going on, you need to address it. So you could call the children aside, so the bullied and the one who is being bullied, you call them aside separately, you talk to them, find out what is going on before you eventually bring them together to try and solve the problem. So you don't put them together immediately.
But you know something, how do you deal with a situation where your teacher is the one bullying you as a child? Because, you know, we're talking about people coming from different backgrounds. When you are coming from, a child is coming from a well-to-do background, they are bullied. When they are coming from a very less privileged background, they are bullied. So sometimes you hear teachers say that, you know, that kind of words like that. And some children too, for instance, during our day, teachers don't even go to their tables because they feel, but what do you have to offer? You know, how do you do, and this is your teacher, the one who you are supposed to be complaining to, is the one now doing this to you. How do you handle this as a child?
It's difficult, but you need to report to your parents or your caregiver at home, so that they can take the matter up with the school authorities to come in to help to deal with the issue. But teachers are professionals, and they are
not all of them.
Well, you see, so
they are supposed to be.
And
but are they?
For all these things, training needs to occur. So from time to time, the teachers need to be sensitized, the teaching assistants, the cleaners in the school, everybody needs to be sensitized that this is something that is not, as for human nature, I mean, everybody likes good things, everybody likes, oh, I know that I can benefit from here, they like it. But when they see that they may not really be able to benefit from there, then the treatment may be different. So everybody has to be treated fairly or equally in the class, whether the person is from a rich home or from a poor home. And that's what the professionalism is about. And that is why the frequent trainings are important for the teachers, because they cannot run away from it, and they are supposed to be the ones advocating for the children and speaking up for them and supporting them. They've all come from different walks of life or from different families, and some of them are being bullied at home, and the school is supposed to be like the safe haven for them. So if they come to school and they are being picked on there too, you can imagine the frustration that they may go through. And for the teachers as well, if you are a teacher in a class and you notice that there are changes in the behavior or the attitude of the child that you are teaching, you need to pay close attention. You need to be interested. You need to investigate, talk to the child, find out what is going on. You may get the help of maybe the school psychologist or a clinical psychologist, the school nurse to help, so that you can interview the child and find out more, so that you can help them. There are times when we are able to intervene because we have had reports from the schools or from the teachers in the class. So whoever you are, once the children are in your care, you are the one to advocate for them, you are the one to speak up for them.
So I have a question. Well, it's a two-in-one question. First of all, once someone is broken by bullying, can they be fixed? Number two, how do you fix a bully?
Okay, so both of them are people that need help.
Okay.
Both the bullied and the one who is bullying all need help. So for the child who is being bullied, often they can develop anxiety, depression, poor school performance and all as a result of being bullied, and they will need help. So it depends on the extent of whatever has gone on. If it is spotted early, then fairly easy, the intervention can come, the talking to and all can come in, their confidence can also be built up, and they should be good to go. If it has reached a point where they have become depressed, they have anxiety, like actual diagnosis of these, then you need the help of the clinical psychologist, the psychiatrist in some cases to come in. There are times when they may have to go through therapy, so psychotherapy to help them to recover emotionally. And they may also need to, for some of them, they may need to be put on medications.
Wow.
So the antidepressants to help them to recover. But to answer that question, yes, the bullied can be fixed. Best practice is to try and spot early, so that it doesn't go to the point where they actually become depressed or have anxiety issues and need to probably be put on medications. For the bullied also, if you go into their history, what you may find is that they may also be bullied in other settings, maybe not in the school settings. They may be coming from a troubled home, or a home where there's a lot of neglect. And sometimes neglect, you can have parents who are very rich but still be neglected. So not that you are poor, but they are not there. And the emotional neglect is because, you know, for bringing up children, you need the love, you need the bonding. That connection has to be there. And money does not provide that connection. So it's not just the absence of money that will put a child at risk of neglect. Emotional neglect is another problem. So if you find whatever the circumstance of the child who is doing the bullying is coming from, then you can plan appropriate interventions. The family support is definitely going to be important. You need the clinical psychologist to also come in to help to identify, the pediatrician definitely, to help to identify what the areas of interest or where the problems are coming from, and they can be fixed. If it's something that you're talking about, child sexual abuse and all that, then you know that the law enforcement agencies may also need to come in, or it involves a firearm like a gun or things like. And these days children have access to guns, especially if they are in homes where there are
weapons,
guns or weapons. So you need to try and keep those away. If you're a farmer, your cutlass, depending on the age of the child, should not be within reach of the child. If you have a child who has anger issues, you spot them early and you try to manage it before it gets out of hand, because we all see the armed robbers growing, don't we? You know, there are kids in the neighborhood that sometimes you can say that, as for this child,
we have to watch him.
We have to watch him. So all those things, the telltale signs are usually there. If you notice that the child's behavior, how the child is treating the siblings, question mark, you need to start looking at it and trying to mold the child or remold the child. Maybe there's something you're doing wrong. So the disciplining, you have to make sure that you try to appropriately intervene and discipline the child so that they can.
But quickly before we go, so if your child is in a school and they come back, you know, continuously with reports of being bullied, would you advise that you change the school, or you try to fix things so it doesn't look like you are running away from problems?
You try to fix it. That's like the first step, because you need to investigate and know exactly what is going on. It may not be what you have been told. You may be surprised. So you need to go into it and find out what is going on. Report to the teacher, the authorities, depending on what the situation is. Try to fix it. once you have tried and it does not work, then you are justified to
take them away from
the environment
Okay.
to another environment where they should be safer.
Great.
And note to the parents and the caregivers and the teachers in the schools, we are the voice for the children, and the children are going to grow to replace us. We need to make sure that we have a safe future. We need to safeguard them. We need to make sure that they grow in love, they grow in a peaceful environment, and they grow up happy, so that when we are old and holding our sticks, they will be able to love us and, you know, reciprocate or take care of us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just grow monsters and they'll take over. And there's nothing you can do.
Great.
Dr. Hilda Boy, thank you so much for sharing this with us. This is very important information for parents to know, parents and teachers to know, and how to handle these things. I don't have very pleasant memories of my experience the first 2 years of secondary school, but there's something happened and it just suddenly stopped, you know. So I just wish that, you know, people would you know, do better. So thank you very much. We appreciate that.
It's a pleasure.
So we'll be
Thanks for having
speaking
me.
with Dr. Hilda Boy, who is actually a pediatrician with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, as well as with JH Health Connect.